that every once in a while I'm willing to do a trip to DC, but I'm never leaving that line.
You're a Florida guy.
I'm never going north. Yeah. We were talking before the show started. I'm a big cyclist, and I like to bike year round. I don't think I could do months and months of snow. That just sounds terrible.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine riding a bike in DC anyway. They'd be picking you off left and right.
Oh my God, yeah. So I did 4 years in Jacksonville Station in the Navy when I was doing my active duty days, and I came back home and opened my business in Brandon. I own the Grade Power Learning Center out there. I live basically across the street. It's a pretty good life.
Power Learning. Tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so interestingly, I'm a fairly young guy. I'm only 33, and at the time I opened it in 2013, I was even a little bit younger than that. It's the largest education company in Canada. They wanted to expand down the U.S. We specialize in kids with learning disabilities and kids who don't, right? But we do a lot of cognitive testing to figure out what the underlying issue is for the parent, if there's a learning weakness, if there's a math weakness, whatever. A lot of times there's some underlying issue as far as maybe we have an auditory processing disorder. Maybe there's something else that's the root cause. So we have an ESE expert who runs the day-to-day show around there. And we go to all our kids' parent-teacher conferences, and we really try to be
very proactive.
Our goal is to make sure that every kid reaches their highest potential. Right?
Yeah, it's an awesome business,
now,
especially in Florida.
Are you a parent?
I'm not. No.
So
I'm everybody's adopted favorite uncle. It's funny. My mom always jokes that. She's like, Andrew, you work with kids all day. Maybe this is what's going to finally get me the grandbabies. And I was like, Mom, I work with kids all day. I don't know if we're on the same page.
That's called birth control.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you work with kids, it's called birth control. Yeah, that'll teach you right there. You don't want any.
For all my clients who are listening, I would just say I love all of your unique unicorns who come to visit me on a daily basis.
That's right. Show your clients some love.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, all right, here's the big question. Why are you running?
For those of you who followed the campaign last time, I think a little bit of history is important here. So I ran for Congress in 2018. I kind of hinted at it at the beginning. I was active duty Navy for 4 years, served on ships. I did a lot of counter-piracy work in those days, mostly revolving the issues off the coast of Somalia for a while. Came home, got the business going, and I was about 3 years into that when the Navy found out that I still had my active top secret clearance, and they were like, oh, we need a planner for the war in Yemen. Andrew, guess where you're going? And I got one of those involuntary activations back over. At the time, it was supposed to be a fairly sleepy deployment. I was going to do the ARGMU planning, which is for those of you who aren't military inclined, we have a lot of aircraft carriers that instead of flying F-18s and jets off of them, they're full of Marines, and they're our response unit for hurricanes like what happened just recently in Bahamas, Haiti, putting a landing force ashore if we needed to do it, all sorts of missions that never really get talked about with special forces and that sort of thing. And I was going to be their ship expert for the Marine Corps general who I worked for. About a week into the job, the UAE, Dubai, put a landing force ashore in southern Yemen. The war in Yemen really kind of kicked off to a whole new level. And all of a sudden, my boss became the lead for that area, which made me his senior Navy planner. And I ended up doing all the Navy planning for the war in Yemen for about 18 months, which was crazy. I was there mostly under the Obama administration, but Trump came in office, and I know there's a heck of a lot of politicking that I missed in the 2016 campaign because I was gone and just focused on other things. But Trump got into office, and on his third day, he ordered a mission that I completely disagreed with. Most of my colleagues did as well, where we ordered a team into Yemen that got Senior Chief Ryan Owens tragically killed. It's the mission, for those of you who might remember it, where he took the briefing in a Mar-a-Lago ballroom instead of in a classified setting, tweeted the Muslim ban the night before the team went into the country, and just, it's kind of botched from the beginning. As I said, none of us really thought it was a good, I can talk for everybody, but I certainly didn't think it was a good idea. So came home and just decided that night that I was gonna run for something, and I started looking into it. My congressional seat was a 10-year incumbent who wasn't doing a lot of anything, and I decided I was going to take a run at him. That was a guy named Dennis Ross. So we have we built a grassroots campaign that I am really proud of. When you run for Congress, they want you to raise millions of dollars. We certainly didn't do that. We raised a decent amount. We did really well, and we did well enough where we forced him into one of those ever too popular Republican retirements in 2018. So it became an open seat late. We ended up, after clearing a 7-way primary, ended up getting primaried by some well-financed people at the end that kind of put the kibosh on it. But
and who was the
I was
woman
really
who ended
proud.
Up winning that primary?
Kristen Carlson went on to win it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was really proud of what we did and the work we had done. And then 2020 started coming around. I was like, man, it would be tragic if I had built this infrastructure and didn't try to continue to fight for the issues that we care about, right? I always say that you run for your reasons, but eventually it becomes about all the people who support you, and you hear their stories and you kind of take them on personally, and it becomes much bigger than you person, the candidate.
So what are some of those big reasons? What do you believe in? What do you believe in with your constituents? Give me some of your top picks of things that you're going to fight for and that are important to you.
Sure. I think the big ones, especially in 2018, like I said, I got involved for the military reasons, but healthcare was just such a dominating issue of that campaign. I'm a TRICARE guy. I'm in the military, so I just kind of show up with my military ID and I'm good. So it was very easy for me to be fighting for Medicare for all because I just thought everybody should have the same access to healthcare.
I'm an Army brat, and I never saw my dad pay a medical bill. I went in, I went out, I broke my hand, took myself to the hospital, got my hand fixed, walked out the door.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I know what you're saying.
It's a great program, and there's a lot of
I
good,
love
hard
Medicare. I help people to successfully age onto Medicare.
Absolutely.
TRICARE is another wonderful program.
Yep.
I love that thing called Social Security too.
Yeah. And
don't we all?
Well, and that gets me to it, right? Because in 2018, the Republicans came out and just wanted to repeal all of our programs without any sort of replacement plan in place, and just
calling our Social Security an entitlement program. Yeah. I'm like, no, that's my money that I invested, and all of a sudden Mitch McConnell's switching the words around like the government's giving you some freebies.
Yeah.
Every day.
Moscow Mitch, hashtag.
Yeah.
That's
be done, yeah. Mitch. That means goodbye in Russian.
So, but honestly, healthcare was such a huge thing in that campaign because you met people who would have house parties for you, welcome you when you're knocking their door, and
we went to a few. Angela.
Well, and they would. I remember there was a lady in Brandon who brought me in, and she opened her kitchen cupboard and was like, "This is the medicine that my daughter goes through every single month." She's like, "If I didn't have health insurance, I would go bankrupt in 2 months, and my daughter would die on month 3." So this Republican plan, I don't understand. Like, it was so personal for so many people, and when people just go all in for you, you internalize that as far as like your reasons why you're running. So as we look forward towards 2020, it's one thing to talk about that at the federal level, whether we're debating Medicare for all or Medicare for America, and frankly, I don't care because all of our plans are better than anything the Republicans
pick
have put
something,
forward,
please.
Frankly,
right?
haven't put forward any plan. But beyond that, the Florida, if you earn less than $103,000 a year, you're paying more for your health care because the Republicans, for political reasons only, refuse to accept the Medicaid expansion. The bar is so low in Florida politics where it's just like, hey, let's take the free money and make healthcare more expensive, more affordable for all of us who earn a paycheck.
Wow.
It's very, very sad. Can you tell us where your district runs?
Yeah, so I would, but to not bore everybody, I would say 90% of the district is Brandon. So if you live in Brandon, if you have a Brandon address, you're definitely in the district. And then if you're in any of the surrounding communities, we pick up parts of you. So parts of Riverview, Progress Village, Claremelle, Dover, Seffner, Valrico, Mango. There's a little sliver of all of those, but that core is Brandon. So north of Boyette.
So that's a typically Republican fundamentalist area.
You know what? Honestly, I would disagree.
Okay.
I would say
cool.
Historically it's been Republican.
Yep.
But 2018 was a fight for the suburbs. Suburbs switched in a big way. This one certainly did. But honestly, this has been trending Democratic for the last decade.
Good.
A woman named Gail Gottlieb, who proudly endorsed me the other day. We were talking about that before coming on air. She in I'm going to get the date wrong. I think it was 2014. She got a 51-49 result there, which was the first time it really got on the map in a pretty significant way.
Now, what did Gail run
Adam
for?
pushed it over the edge. And I love Adam and the work that we did in 2018, because a lot of my canvassers went to go work on his campaign, frankly, when I lost my primary. But that seat, he was the least performing of the Democrats in it. So Gillum, Nelson, county commission races, Mariella, and the countywide folks.
Kimberly, yeah.
We carried Brandon in a pretty overwhelming way.
Good. It's good to hear.
So we definitely think we need to hold this seat. It's and now it's a Democratic leaning seat. It's D+3. We've added about 75 net new Democrats every month since election day. So the momentum only continues to build in our.
Yeah, my neighborhood was atrocious. I won't even tell you what kind of signs I was seeing, and hang Hillary and lynchings of her on people's trees.
And that's Sefner.
Sefner,
we got some work to do in Sefner.
In my whole neighborhood, there was 2 people that had Hillary signs in their front yard, or Angela Birdsong signs, which was me and the person down the street.
Repping the merch.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't really talk about this before coming on, but my parents are lifelong Republicans. I grew up a Republican.
We didn't know that.
I was in Brandon. I am the definition of the Obama generation. I was in college. To go back a little farther, I was personally just affected by 9/11. I was in high school. I immediately just went to the recruiter and was like, all right, how do I do this? That was where I knew the path that I was going to be on. And at the time, I certainly was 18 and not particularly woke, and just was watching on Fox News, and I thought that being in the military meant you had to be a Republican, and yada yada. Long story short, it was Obama that really changed me, and I've been voting blue ever since. But when you talk about going out and winning in I would not say red places, I would say the purple places. There's a lot of really reasonable folks out there that we just have to be bold enough to make the argument. They're not all vehement Trump voters who are a bunch of racists or whatever. Their priorities are a little bit different than ours. But at the end of the day, we do want affordable healthcare. At the end of the day, we do want good jobs. We want a clean environment. And as long as we can have those conversations in reasonable ways, I think there's a lot of folks out there who are looking at the craziness coming from the right now, who are just looking for a viable alternative. And we need to provide them those good alternatives.
When I was running for office, I was very surprised to find out that most people want to vote for the right person.
Yes.
They're really not looking for who's the Dem, who's the Republican, who's the Independent. They just want to know, what are you going to do for me, my family, and my neighborhood?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I'm glad you ran, because you had so much input to conversations like this, and that's another great reason we're having candidates on. You can relate to it.
I can.
Yeah.
Now, who are you running against?
So
if you win your primary.
So it's an open seat right now. So Adam Hattersley vacated it to run for the congressional seat. So it's an open seat. It's one of 2 in that category. So Margaret Good down in Sarasota also is vacating a House seat to run for Congress. And then I saw the writing on the wall as soon as it happened. I said, I have a choice to make. I can have a primary fight for the seat that I ran for last time and make this personal and just continue a fight. But honestly, we have somebody good running. I'm going to go for that vacant House seat and work together with my little blue team and advance the priorities that we all need to fight for. Because everything in Washington is also a Tallahassee fight, right? And with gerrymandering now, the new law of the land from the Supreme Court, I mean, the Tallahassee seats, what we do in these state House seats across the state are going to matter this year more than ever. This is how we win Congress over the next decade.
Yeah, it needs to be done. Speaking of needs to be done, we need to pay the bills.
First segment gone.
So we're going to bring on our advertisers, and Daryl likes that, the man behind the screen over here running our show today. We'll be right back with more Commander Learned. Thank you.
Hi, this is Trina Johnson with Caldwell Banker Real Estate, the real estate agent you've been looking for. If you want top dollar for your home or you're looking to make a purchase, call me at 813-244-6953. Again, 813-244-6953, and let me list your home.
Hi, this is Dale Day. Join me every Monday at 7 p.m. for Jazz at Miss Connie's house, bringing you the smoothest jazz and coolest guests right here on In Touch Radio.
My name is Gil Sampson. I didn't come from Bright Futures has done a lot to shape my life. Got a job as a structural engineer, and I design residential buildings, commercial buildings all over the United States. Because of Bright Futures, I was able to go to college. You know, so many kids just don't even ever get that opportunity. And to be able to do it and not have any debt when I graduated is amazing. And it was all thanks to Bright Futures.
Florida has created more than 1 million jobs in only 5 years, and a great education connects our students to these exciting opportunities. That's why the Florida Lottery has funded Bright Futures scholarships to help over 725,000 students attend college. Because every play is for education. The Florida Lottery. Just imagine.
Hello. Welcome back to Tampa Bay Politics. And it's very exciting because we got a candidate in the house. And his name is Andrew Leonard. I want you to learn about him.
There's your fan club, Andrew.
I like it. We got sound effects.
That's our audience. No sound effects.
In the
Thanks.
background, they got
You
me.
know what? There's some shaking up going on with Margaret Good down in Sarasota. She switched her seat. Then we got Hattersley switching. Okay, let's talk about this. So Hattersley was running for Hattersley was in what seat?
Adam Hattersley, Representative Hattersley is currently representing Florida's 59th district, which is the seat that I'm running for. He announced about 2 months ago that he's going to run for Congress in the seat.
He is vacating his seat.
He's been on our show. We've already talked to him.
Yes.
Yep. He was recently elected in 2018. He's vacating it to run for the congressional. And then I'm running for the new vacant seat that he's opening up.
Speaking of that, 813-444-9588. If you'd like to call in and talk to the candidate yourself, 813-444-9588. We want to hear from you. Give us a call.
Hey, may as well get your opinion. Now, that was a great plan until something happened. Now, Adam Hattersley has a Democratic opponent.
Yeah.
How do you think this is going to work out? A guy named Alan Cohn jumped in.
Another Democrat.
Yes,
yeah, there's
Democrat.
two now. I'll reserve reservations. I'm meeting. I called Alan a couple times for the last campaign. I haven't met him personally yet, but we're having coffee next week, so hopefully be talking to him. Obviously, Adam has been a friend for a long time. We've been in talks ever since this happened. So,
similar
I know
backgrounds. You're both in the Navy. You're both young. You're both all-American boys. You grew up and changed your minds and moved forward. I like you both.
Sure. Yeah. I do like him. Obviously I think any primary is a good opportunity to have a debate of issues. Too often we give our candidates a pass and we don't hold them accountable for the priorities that we're actually setting them. When
it's
you don't have
echo
a primary
chamber, people get into the echo chamber and nothing gets said.
And I'll be honest, this is one of the questions I know we wanted to cover later, but talking about running in purple districts like this one and just being true to yourself and your values and why we do that. I think primaries force candidates into being true to their values. Too often we see candidates run when they're the only candidate in a race where they just talk about whatever the most middle ground vanilla position is possible. I've seen all of the issues pages for a heck of a lot of candidates recently as I was building out mine, and nobody has issues pages. Nobody's talking about what they want to do for the community. Nobody's talking about what their plans are for healthcare. They don't want to take a position on it because they don't want to get attacked for it. And at the same time, this is why, people want us to be bold in what we fight for. So you told me to pitch it. So AndrewLearner.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will add the /issues and you can go. I think we've written issue pages now on about 18 different topics.
What are some of those topics? Tell me, what is important to you? What are your issues?
We talked about healthcare first.
Healthcare first.
I think healthcare is a huge one. Just expanding Medicaid so everybody earning less than $103,000 in the state will have more affordable healthcare. Obviously, gerrymandering being the new law of the land, making sure that we force Republicans to draw fair maps. voter disenfranchisement, just as far as, whether it was high-speed rail, smaller class sizes, Amendment 4, you name it. We have voted over and over and over again, medical marijuana. The voters of this state have made their opinions known, and Tallahassee continues to try to claw those issues back.
Oh, not try. They're doing it.
Yeah, they think they know better than the rest of us.
And the notorious toll road to hell to Georgia that is going to destroy our wetlands and kill our endangered species and just
absolutely
tear us up.
Yeah, climate change, the environment. I'm a big cyclist.
And they're
so
sneaky. They do things on the down low, and all of a sudden you turn around and it's a bill.
Yeah.
Their issues are clear.
That's correct.
Yes,
that's correct.
And they have the money and they have the focus.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to change it is by changing the numbers in Tallahassee.
Say it again. Vote blue.
Vote
That's
blue.
what you say.
Please get this young man to Tallahassee so we can have more.
Someone on our team. Yeah.
Another person on our team.
Yeah.
Who's fighting for the right thing.
So what about affordable housing? I mean, we've done show after show after show about the issues that are important to the voting constituents.
Yes.
What else
and
are some of your passions?
People just aren't talking about them. I think obviously we hit on the environment, affordable housing. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I have my rent go up every single year because of some computer calculation, just like the rest of you do.
Yes,
it's terrible.
Need a thing called rent control.
Oh, yeah. I own my business. Like I'm somebody who's doing
contributing
well
to our economy. Yeah.
And the fact that I still struggle to make ends meet, given we were talking business before coming in, like every month where I just keep my doors open, I feel like is a successful month in business. And I think that's far too many of us. And so yes, that teacher pay is a big one for me. I obviously work in the education space. So obviously improving kids' schools. We talked at the very beginning about why I opened the business I did. And mainly it was about making sure that every kid had the opportunity to reach their highest potential.
Regardless
and one of my,
code.
and I, not to berate my own business, but I will be perfectly blunt. Private tutoring is expensive.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned very quickly.
And it works.
It does work. It does work. But, I thought when I got into this space that I would be helping a lot of kids who were falling off the rails. And frankly, I'm probably a center that specializes in the BC student instead of the DF student, because those parents, those kids are never going to pick up the phone and call me because it's probably, they just assume that it's probably out of reach.
Yeah.
In Tallahassee, we have an opportunity to make all of our schools better for all of our kids, not just the kids who can opt into a for-profit charter school, but all of our kids. And that's why I'm at it.
We just did a show about privatization vouchers and privatizing our schools. And
still only about 10% of our kids are in charter schools.
Yeah.
So the rest of the 90%, we got to work on.
And when you talk about charter schools, in my district, right? For those of you listening in Brandon, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've been living the construction over the last couple months.
Yeah.
But we have two ends. On one side, we have Progress Village, which has some of the lowest performing schools in the area. On the other side, we have Fishhawk, which is the reason people live in the Brandon area, which is some of the best schools, not in the area, but in the state of Florida.
Wow.
And then we just built 2 brand new, sparkly charter schools. On which end of that district on which side of Bloomingdale did those go in? On the Fishhawk side.
Yes, of course. Instead of where they're needed.
Helping the kids who need it the most. They're over there in the place where the kids are already doing fine. And those schools are taking funds away from the entire area, which means which schools are most affected by that? The ones on the Progress Village side of the district. The ones where where those resources are needed.
It's follow the money for everything. Education, the resources. It's, we're just going to let our marginalized communities
we have a
get D's
question
and
from
F's.
our leader.
Well, thank you. But I'm concerned about Progress Village.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, why are those schools in the privileged neighborhoods underperforming?
Yeah.
Is it money? Is it
Yes.
Is it the teachers themselves? What is it really?
There's a number of factors, and this is going to get into a very deep conversation about a heck of a lot of things. But obviously, the school to prison pipeline has not been abated. Affordable housing, as long as you have. My sister teaches a Title I school, sorry, I guess I should walk that back. She did teach at a Title I school until she left her job to go teach abroad in China because she gets more pay as a teacher in China than she does in America. which is just crazy. We're going to put a pencil in that and we're just going to move on. So she used to lament that, her kids would misbehave because they would have parent-teacher night and parents would come and not go meet with the teachers, but would go for the free dinner that the cafeteria workers would put on. And then they go home and she's like, I have all these kids who are like terrible behavior problems and nothing's happening. And like, parents. Well, those parents are working 2 or 3 jobs, probably 2 full-time jobs, and then driving for Uber at night, just trying to make their rent, just trying to help put food on the table, right? And we are all so strapped that are they as good a parents as they could be? Are they as good a parent as somebody who has the luxury of being a stay-at-home mom who has all day to chauffeur their kids around and make sure that they have every opportunity? No, they can't. You can't do both. You just can't. So the issues are coming from home. The issues are related to healthcare costs. Or issues are related to an inadequate minimum wage. The issues are related to how we fund our schools, as you said, but it is much deeper than that. You can't just throw money at schools and expect a different outcome if you're not going to address the societal issues that we need to do to make it so that if you're working hard in this country, you have the same opportunity to succeed that everybody else who's working hard has.
But a lot of those, that area, Progress Village, and a little further down the street in Claremont, migrant workers, migrant children. My mother taught in Waimama. Her kids made $40 a day picking tomatoes, and they look her in the face. They're like, I'm already making $40 a day. Why do I need to go to college? And no, they don't own their houses. No, they're not paying taxes, high taxes like in South Tampa or Fishhawk, where you're living in a $350,000, $500,000 home. Right. It's follow the money again. That's not fair, and it's just not equitable.
Now, homeless families. So you're thinking if the child is facing things like homelessness, how can they even concentrate?
Yeah.
How can the parents concentrate?
Yeah, lack of food.
It's causing a lot of problems in the classroom.
No food security.
That's right.
If they weren't eating at school, they would not be eating at all.
Yeah.
Right. I'm on the board for YMCA Camp Christina over in the Brandon area, or Riverview rather. And one of the things their big initiative is the veggie bus that goes down to Waimama.
I work for the YMCA as well in South Tampa.
Yeah, perfect. I love the Y. Yeah. Everybody go to the Y. I'll probably see you on one of the stationary bikes or one of these days. But honestly, it's nutrition is huge. Joe Biden. Sorry, tangents galore today.
Talk.
But Joe Biden got hit for his little gaffe at last week's debate about the record player. And the thing is, he's right. He's absolutely right on that issue about how some kids just don't have access to the same amount of words. And, but again, how are you going to, and the reason he's talking about putting on a record player, and is it, did it sound a little out of touch? Of course it did. I'm
going to break that bubble. You should know this. Albums are back. Vinyl is
true.
huge.
Yeah,
so he's actually a hipster. You missed that one, buddy.
I'm too millennial to be a hipster. Huge
records happening now. Everybody is putting back the records on. So
yes, but
give them a plug.
It is a world where frankly, life's not fair for any of us. Right? We all have intrinsic advantages and disadvantages, but at the end of the day, the American promise is if you work hard, you'll have every chance to succeed. And that means we need to, whenever I'm talking to Republicans, a lot of times they'll say like, well, is it fair that we have, that we tip the scale in one direction or another to help kids or something like that all kids don't get? Well, I just say, look at the outcome, right? Who's doing well in today's society? Is it the kids? Is it business owners like me, or is it the parent who's, collecting food stamps or something like that? Like, if you can tell me that food stamp person is doing so much better than a business owner, then maybe it's time to rebalance the scale. Mm-hmm. But right now we are so out of balance where 1% is just dominating every conversation
when it comes to children.
Yeah. Yes.
Give them
and we all know what happens when the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's called revolution. Yes. And, it happened in the Bolsheviks and all the way down. Speaking of revolution, we're going to have we're going to revolve over here to get our ads on the air. Thank you, Daryl.
Been in a car crash? Call Ricky. Don't know what to do? Ask Ricky. We will connect you with a lawyer and doctor experienced in auto accident injuries. Call Ricky at 844-361-7425. After an auto accident, you have 14 days to seek medical attention. You may be in pain, so call Ricky, ask Ricky for your best options. 844-361-7425. Call Ricky, ask Ricky is a legal and medical referral service. The lawyers in our network pay to receive referrals.
Hi, I'm Donald L. Dowers Jr., your motivational guru. This is the DLD Motivational Moment. One darn second. America, since 2017, is suffering from a serious hiccup. 9/11 is seriously overused in a distasteful manner. Every day, the cops are calling on an innocent person of color. It amazes me that America has come down to this. A person of color becomes a person of interest. Waffle House, the dorm, Starbucks is a few. This is not the lunch counters, sit-ins of the 1960s. 2019, harassed simply for being black and proud. Hold on one darn second. This has been the DLD Motivational Moment. Pre-order my new book, Motivational Moments, at DLD282002 at yahoo.com or 813-394-5875.
This is Linda Archie with Taya Temple United Methodist Church. Join us every first and third Saturday of the month at the Village Market, East Tampa, 3206 North Sanchez Street. Free parking, free admission, fresh produce, live entertainment, vendor shopping, and delicious cooked food. Join us every first and third Saturday of the month, beginning June 22nd. For vendor information, call me 1-888-991-2502. See our ad in Touch News or Florida Sentinel. Please call me at 1-888-991-2502. The Village Market at East Tampa, 3206 North Sanchez Street.
Hello, welcome back. I'm so glad you're sticking with Tampa Bay Politics because this is a conversation you need to hear. You need to be an educated voter. So here's one of the candidates that will be on your ballot, and this is going to be for 2020.
Andrew Learned, welcome to the show. Let me go ahead and put out some phone numbers in case some folks are near a phone. 813-444-9588. 813-444-9588. Feel free to call in and speak to Mr. Learned yourself.
You know, I just want to put in a little plug that the CCA, which is the Caribbean Community Association, does do free tutoring at University of South Florida.
Oh, nice.
They've been doing it for years to equalize the playing field.
How would somebody get a hold of the CCA? So they can call me at 813-476-4837. But CCA is on the website. I mean, they do have a website, and Miss Evie Larman has been running that program for years. This is good to know.
Yes.
First,
USF, they give them free space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for USF.
So, if you can afford someone wonderful like Andrew Learned, go there. But if you can't, please consider getting tutoring for your child. It does make the difference.
Yeah, it works. Yeah. It definitely works. Speaking of it, it works. I'm a military brat, and you've got your background in the armed forces. How does your being in the service inform the narrative of you as a politician? What did the service teach you? How did that turn you around? Adam Hattersley, the same thing. And we've had a couple of folks who were in the service.
People are loving the people who have served.
Yeah. I think we're patriotic again. Vietnam, people came back and it wasn't so good. People coming back now seem to have great respect and love from Americans again, all over again. So how did your service inform you as being a politician? How did it shape and change you?
I would say, the number one thing is it's just my why, right? Like I saw the towers come down on 9/11. We just had the anniversary of it. And every year it's a reminder of why I chose the path that I'm on.
So what did you learn along the way to become this person? This person.
I was 15 when the towers came down. I was 17 when I signed my contract, and I've been on some version of orders ever since, right? So it's literally defines who I am as an adult. I would say the number one things are camaraderie and how you can't do anything alone. You really are, we glorify people in the movies and you think like, oh, it's some lone, heroic
Dirty
guy.
Harry with the big gun and Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those guys.
Yeah, that's
alone.
not the way the world works anymore.
Yeah.
When we
Lone
run
wolf.
an operation, you have thousands, if not tens of thousands of people behind the scenes working to put those pieces in place to effectively, combat the enemy. Right. So not everybody is a trigger puller. Not everybody is support. It's a team effort, and I think that's the number one thing. And we talked about TRICARE and some of the other stuff too. And I always think it's funny when you meet somebody in the military who's like a really macho, like Trump person or something like that. They're like, well, I don't need any of that. Like, oh, well, don't you exist in like the most socialized system?
Yeah.
In not only in the United States, like one of the most in the world. Like everything from your pay. When the government shuts down, military still gets paid. If you are hurt in any way, you just show up to a hospital and you get treated. Right?
I'm a democratic socialist for the same reason. I was raised in a socialist economy, the military, U.S. military. I never saw my father pay for anything. He didn't pay a rent check. We didn't pay medical. We paid food and the basics. But the government paid for my first 18 years of life.
I tell you what, when I think of a military person, I do think of honor. Duty to serve. And so I think that's why a lot of people like and gravitate towards voting towards someone who's been in the military.
Yeah, I think it shows.
You think about it.
Stat.
Yeah, and you think about it in comparison, right? So obviously we don't exist in a vacuum. I'm sure everybody out there who's listening would love to vote for me, but maybe you're one of those people that you're going to find out that there's a Republican alternative, and you want to go take a look at their issues page and see what they're fighting for too. And in the contrast, it is very striking. You have a lot of folks on our side who are devoted their life to teaching. We have a whole bunch of great teachers running for office all across Tampa Bay.
Mr. Hottenstein will be joining us.
Absolutely.
57. You got
he's awesome.
Jessica Harrington.
Jessica Harrington coming up. We'll get her on here.
Against that guy, Jamie Grant.
Amanda Litton is running in State Senate 21, which is also, we have a lot of great teachers.
Who's the other one?
Amanda Litton.
Amanda Litton.
So, and then obviously we have some military folks like myself and Adam and some great other ones. But you put that in comparison to, on the other side, a lot of attorneys. I'm sure there's a couple attorneys listening to this, and I don't mean anything by this, but when Congress, U.S. Congress used to be 70% veteran, now it's less than 20%.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And now Florida House is like 80-something% attorneys.
Yeah,
right? And then we wonder why we get policies that
them.
help attorneys that don't help the rest of us.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's why, you have to be well aware of who you're voting for, what they stand for. Go to their pages. Speaking of going to their pages, give me the issues page and a phone number again. We need to drive people there.
AndrewLearned.com. My phone number is on the website. So
AndrewLearned.com. That's fine.
But if you just go there,
check
all
it out.
It is on it. Yep.
The voter is looking for who has a heart for the people, who really cares about what's going on in the community. They want a down-to-earth type of person. They don't necessarily want an attorney. If they believe that you really want to do the right thing for the community, you got a shot.
Yeah.
That's what the voter is looking for nowadays.
Yeah. They're looking for people, right?
Yes,
and you need to have it.
With a
you
heart.
need to be relatable, and you need to be able to talk to people one-on-one, and frankly, you're gonna have to win over some voters. You're gonna have to persuade some folks.
And on and on. There's issues affecting you as a former service member. You're in the reserves now, or are you out?
Yep,
completely?
I'm still in.
You still are in. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah, I actually still have not received my bag home from a set of orders over to Tajikistan that I was on recently. I'm a reserve officer. The J3 for Navy Special Operations Command Central's reserve unit. So.
Okay, thank you.
So
for
how
your
does
service.
that look? When are you gone? How often are you?
So
gone?
I'm one of the drilling reservists. So and it starts to get wonky. So I'm not going to go into all the details. I'm one of those 1 weekend a month, 2 weekends a year kind of guys. So usually I'm able to plan my service around my calendar a little bit, which is nice.
And the reason I brought that up is because it's another show I'd like to do, and I'm working on getting it put together. Angela doesn't know yet. Privatization of the Veterans Administration. I mean, the VA, things that you know about, things that you've experienced. They're big right now. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think the main one, and again, this is a federal issue. So as we talk about the state, I would say we have a lot of things at the state level that we could be doing for veterans that we're not doing. because we just let the federal government handle all of it. But no, I think it's critical. I mean, whether you're military or you're a union worker or you're a teacher or you're, anybody in public service, like if you signed up with the promise of a pension, like that promise should be honored for you. And the fact that we try to claw those things back to make more room for Republican tax cuts is it's just gross, because we are literally funding billionaires' tax credits off of the backs of people who worked for the public good for their entire lives. And military folks, I've been talking a lot about how we have it good, and in some respects we do, but there's a lot of people who've paid an ultimately high price. I've been in a helicopter with guys who've sustained wounds that you never want to talk about after the fact. I was in Lamstuhl, which is the base in Germany that all of our Kazakhs from Iraq and Afghanistan go to, and there is an entire ward at that hospital for just burns because of the explosions that people face, and they deserve the best care that we can possibly muster as a country, no question. And when I hear privatization, I hear race to the bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's happening with our prison system.
That's exactly
how low can you go?
One of my dearest friends is a Vietnam vet, and I'm going to bring him on. He's very vocal, very articulate. Hopefully he'll be here, and we need to explore it. And it's good that you're a vet. That's what I appreciate about having teachers. They could sit down and talk about the school system. They can talk about vouchers and privatization and what it's like. It's like being in the front line of the war, front line of the schools. We need people who, I'm not sure what the lawyers are doing.
So
Darryl Johnson would like to speak.
So I'm sorry. No. Are you for privatization?
No, of anything.
Okay. All right.
Nothing.
Andrew, why not the State Department? You ever thought about it?
Why don't I work in the State Department?
Yeah.
I'm trained for the USAID program. As the crisis planner for 5th Marine Expeditionary Brigade, I was our liaison when, if there was a hurricane or something, some natural disaster, we worked together with the State Department a lot. Why not the State Department? Why not the CIA? Why not, stay in active service? I could have done all those things. To be honest with you, when I was getting out, I realized, had been a former student body president at my university, campaigning on an issue.
Which university was that?
University of Tampa, right here in downtown.
Oh, and where'd you go to high school?
Fort Myers High School. Graduated down there.
Fort Myers.
Yep, just a little bit south. So, for me, it was a lot of realizing that the things that made me successful in my personal life up through the military were my ability to buck the system, right? Like my most successful deployment was my deployment to Yemen, where I had the direct ear of the general, and I was able to go to him and say, like, sir, this is not a good plan. We need to do this instead, right? And you could shape the conversation. You need to be willing to speak up to powerful people, and that is a skill set that is not particularly rewarded in the military, right? It's the world's largest bureaucracy, and in some ways you have to be able to fall in line.
But it made you a good politician.
Well, and that's
it's making you a good politician.
So absolutely. The skills that I bring to the table, I think, are going to be most valued and rewarded. One, in owning my own company. I'm a self-starter, so I do well there. I do well in politics because I'm not waiting for somebody to give me permission to come out with a bold policy. I'm just going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need here. I don't think it's what we need in the military, because those voices just kind of get drowned out a lot.
Yeah. Ne'er-do-wells. I like them. I've spent my whole life pretty much stirring the pot myself.
There's a few endorsements I think maybe you might be able to tell us about when you get back.
Oh,
absolutely.
We're going to pay some bills. Daryl's bringing in our advertisers again.
That's Darryl Johnson, and he has a newspaper called In Touch News.
Absolutely.
You want to read it when you can.
Ray Williams Funeral Home, providing the highest quality, professional, and caring service for your family. Call Jeffrey Rhodes at 813-253-3419. That's 813-253-3419. Or visit him at 301 North Howard Avenue, Tampa, Florida. Ray Williams Funeral Home, for the finest care and quality service.
Hi, this is Trina Johnson with Caldwell Banker Real Estate, the real estate agent you've been looking for. If you want top dollar for your home or you're looking to make a purchase, call me at 813-244-6953. Again, 813-244-6953, and let me list your home.
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers in the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
Okay, here we are. We're back. And believe it or not, this is our last segment of the show.
It goes way too fast. I can't even believe it.
And you know what? This is not the first time around for candidate Andrew Lerner. So I'm just wondering what you learned the first time and how that's going to help you with your second run.
Well, when I ran in 2018, oh my gosh, like a universe ago, right? I had come home and I filed to run for office 3 days after coming home from my deployment.
Wow.
I was frankly just
Adamant.
angry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and frankly, just angry. And there's no other way to say it. I mean, what happened to
There's a lot of
Ryan was
people who got
inexcusable, and so I filed, and
politics.
we've been fighting ever since. But as you know, one of the first things you do, especially in Congress, is everybody just tells you, all right, well, shut up and go raise money, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing that they tell you to do is take out your cell phone, put a number next to everybody's name, and call them and ask them for that amount. And it's gross, and nobody likes it. I hated it. Everybody does. I'm sure you hate it.
Raising money ain't
Money in
fun.
politics is an awful thing. That said, if we want to do anything, if we want to be serious about the issues that we're fighting for, we have to be able to put in the work necessary to do it. So I did that, and I worked. I know
and people want the candidate to do the asking.
I know where I was at because I started with it. I did it all on a spreadsheet, and my first spreadsheet had 283 numbers on it that I had in my cell phone and that in a Facebook account. And we just started. And a year and a half later, we finished that campaign. Something like 36,000 people had gotten,
wow, nice,
spoken to,
nice,
came to an event. I mean, it was wild. It was just wild. So what did I learn? First of all, I met 35,721 people or something like that. I mean, just
so right there, you have a list you're starting with.
Yeah. So you meet people that you need to know. You learn things about how to effectively build a campaign. I'm very transparent. I think now as just being eyes open to the two sides of politics, and that is the business, but also the issues advocacy piece. Mm-hmm. Because as much as we want to be able to advocate for our issues, we will not be successful in that if we can't have an infrastructure, if we don't have the people who frankly earn a paycheck working in democratic politics. And we have to be able to be smart about how we fight for the issues that we care about. Because we can be on the side of a street telling people to honk for healthcare all we want, but unless we have somebody who's actually doing the day-to-day
But really,
work,
the more money, the more speech. You can buy billboards. You can get on the radio.
Right.
Yeah, it's a shame that
it costs money.
It's a shame that you can basically have to do that. I mean, people in Congress are like, we're there for 3 weeks and we spend the other
half the time
45 weeks raising money. The minute you get in, you get on the phone and you start raising money. Right. And yeah, I'm not sure how we got here. Or I think it's like, what, 227 million just to run for the presidency, if you even want to make a dent. Yeah. It's heartbreaking to me. It's upsetting.
The good news, though, is when I ran last time, everybody was like, Andrew's, shut up and go raise money. You're the guy who you need $2 million. And yeah, it's great that you raised 360,000, but,
that's
not
a lot,
enough, right?
But not enough.
What did I learn? I learned that there's an open state house seat that 360,000 goes a long way for, right?
Yeah.
And now I went from being the guy that nobody thought would be able to raise it to this time I'm the best financed state house candidate of any non-incumbent in the state of Florida right now.
Wonderful.
So, we just if you put in one of the things I learned, and if you're listening, and if you have any ambition of ever running for office, and you should, because we need good people.
You can look right there at the camera. Talk to your folks.
Yeah, run for soil and water commissioner. Run for school board. Run for Congress. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Be a precinct captain.
Be a precinct captain. If you are willing to put in the work, you can do it. You really can. It's just a matter of how much time and effort you can put into your campaign.
Wow. It's very inspirational. And I'm going to ask you a personal question. Tell me about your biking.
Oh, God. We can do a whole podcast on this.
Well, I mean more from a standpoint against. Everything we do informs our politics. Sure. I think it does. Mm-hmm. I live my politics. I know you live your politics with the Medicaid and the Medicare and everything you're doing in your life. So the Bay Area has an inordinate amount of deaths on bikes. The traffic, the infrastructure is not set up for it. Would that be something you'd look at even statewide when I bring up my bike and we do the hills of Tallahassee?
Oh yeah, sure. And no, I actually joke with all my cycling friends when I tell them I'm running for office, and I'm like, they're the last like, oh, what party are you or something like that. I was like, none of that matters. I was like, just know that I'm the guy who wants to fix the potholes. I'm gonna vote for you.
Okay.
I want bike lanes. No, like, not a partisan issue, but absolutely, I think any cyclist knows how badly we need it, because you hit a pothole, you're going to swerve into traffic.
I think your personal nature is being a cyclist. You're outdoors.
Yeah,
you obviously care about the land.
Yep.
I mean, bikers are a certain ilk of a person. How does that? What does that make you want to do for us in the state of Florida?
This morning on my bike on a training ride, did a Facebook video that didn't post because I had to run out of the Wi-Fi to come here. So I'm sure it'll be on later today, or I'll pretend. If you're watching this, you'll know that
when you're riding
was
your bike
really today when I post it tomorrow.
When you're riding your bike in Florida, how do you feel? What does that mean? Are you going to help us fix the infrastructure? I mean, you're hands-on. You're seeing the accidents, the traffic, the lack of lighting, the lack of safety, even for crossing streets.
I had two friends die down in South Florida last year. A driver texting while driving plowed into a pack of about 20 cyclists going about 60 miles an hour. Yeah,
horrible.
Yeah, it was not good. So yeah, absolute personal passion, fixing pothole. I joke about it, but absolutely serious. I was talking to Pat Kemp, our county commissioner,
just the other night Pat
about it.
Yep.
And she was saying that one of the big issues right now we have is we make kids walk to school if they live within 2 miles of their school, but there's no funding for sidewalks and bike lanes within that 2 miles. So there are plenty of places. Fishhawk is one of them where kids have to walk across a highway to get to their school, which is just
crazy.
It doesn't make sense. But the way the state wrote the rule, it just says, well, if you're within 2 miles, well, if you're going to make a mandate, you need to be able to fund it.
Yep.
So absolutely think. Just to step back and for cycling for a second. So I started my business in 2013, and I'm doing okay now, but I readily admit that it's not always easy. If you want to start a business, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a Wednesday where I wasn't going to make Friday's payroll, and I've been there. I think every business owner has been there, and in that process, I don't like to admit to it, I gained 50 pounds in those first couple of years. I was eating takeout Chinese and working until 11 o'clock every night and just making dumb personal decisions. So it was actually my last deployment overseas where I was like, all right, well, I'm 18 months in the desert. I'm going to get in shape and we're going to do this. And I lost all the weight. I'm back down to where I was. And so cycling to me is how I let out the frustrations of politics. It's my me time where I kind of recuperate every morning, just me, the early dawn, right before the sun comes up. And I love it. I'm absolutely just doing tons of hours down south of Fishhawk into the old orange groves that aren't anymore, because you're right, we are bulldozing our green spaces at a rate,
especially in Brandon, horrendous.
You got the land out there.
So speaking of that, maybe we can plan some biking fundraisers for you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm racing in the state championship in about 3 weeks.
Talking about that, do you need any volunteers?
For that?
No, for your campaign.
Great idea.
Well, I need volunteers for the campaign, but if you want to come to state championship, wave a sign. I'm gonna. No.
He needs cheerleaders, Angela.
It's your time to ask what you need.
So AndrewLearned.com. If you like what I talk about, or if you just if I said something that you disagree with, I would say our job as representatives is to represent you. So you should go tell me, and you should make me smart about the issues that matter most. So you can go to andrewlearned.com. If you scroll to first of all, right at the top, you can subscribe to emails and you can sign up to be a volunteer and all that stuff. And you should do that. But if you keep going all the way to the bottom, my phone and email is all in there. You can call me. You could call and interrupt my Facebook Live right now. If you want. But honestly, check it out. Go to the issues page. Get to know me. Get to know the Republicans running for the seat. And because I think it becomes very clear very quickly what the priorities are and who's fighting for who. We've had 20 years of single party Republican control of all branches of government in Tallahassee, and the results speak for themselves.
They're horrible.
Even
horrible.
if you don't, there's a lot of folks in 2016 when they pulled that voted
guns
for Trump.
In the classroom.
That
the highway to hell, to nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point is, to speak directly to the people who pulled the lever for Trump in 2016. I get it. You wanted change, and you wanted to see what would happen. Well, Tallahassee right now in 2020, we need change. We should try something new.
You know what? Everyone doesn't
working.
have money, but they might have some manpower. What could they do for you?
Absolutely. So we have we text voters, we call voters. Just day-to-day stuff at the office, helping out.
You have an office? Where's that?
We do out in Brandon. So just go on that site, sign up. Okay. We'll get you all the information you need. We'll get you queued up with our volunteer coordinators, and we will get you out. You can be your block copy. You can just
door
do your
knocking
vote.
In the neighborhood.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the state house. When I ran for Congress, people said, "Oh, Andrew, shut up when you've raised $4 million," and you disappear into a call room and you're calling rich people all over the country, and that is not this race. This race, if you want to knock doors, you're not knocking doors by yourself. You're knocking doors with me. I will go with you, and we will go talk to some voters, because that is what we need to do if we're going to win some seats, right? And awesome. It is and my last pitch on this, because I know we're getting past the hour here. It is very possible for us to win this race and lose the war at the same time. This is a seat that we won in 2018. It's a Democratic seat. We should hold this seat. And it just is a matter of frankly, me doing my part and making sure that we get out the vote and we overperform.
This is going to be a real fight, because the Republicans want that seat back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we are in the minority. And for a state that votes 50-50 at statewide elections, our state house is dominated 60% to 40% for the Republicans. Which means we need to go on offense. So
how many seats do we need to win,
if you're not in my district,
I don't.
You need to get involved for your state house rep. We talked about Jessica Harrington. We talked about
that's out there in Lutz. I know.
Yep, Scott and Fishhawk. I mean, we need to win all of these seats. Scott,
Scott Hottestein.
Yeah.
Okay,
all the teachers running. We have to go on offense all over the state, because we need to bring Tallahassee back.
Where's Amanda running?
Amanda Linton, she's running for the state Senate. So it's the overlapping seat from South Brandon down to like the Bradenton area.
Okay,
Beach,
so Brandon,
Riverview.
you might see Amanda on your ticket.
Yep, absolutely. We have to win all these seats. If you want to make sure that healthcare is affordable for everybody who earns less than $103,000 a year, you need to be voting for a Democrat for the state house. If you want to make sure that we get some common sense gun solutions and we don't arm our teachers, you need to be voting for Democrats in the state house. If you want to make sure that we're protecting choice, that we're fighting for a fair minimum wage, if you want to do any of the things that we have been talking about, Amendment 4, any of the things that we've been talking about, you have to be voting for Democrats up and down the ballot, but most importantly at the state level.
And I know Angela and I feel adamant about it as well. We're inviting candidates galore onto our show so they can tell us who they are, what their passions are, and who they are as people. We're doing our part. Daryl Johnson, the man who runs the place, allowing us to do this as well, and
let me
getting
tell
the word
you,
out.
as a fabulous newspaper, you should be advertising in In Touch News if you're a candidate.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a great way to reach out to the communities right here.
The hairdressers,
East Tampa.
It gets to the people at the ground level.
Yeah, absolutely. 16 cities.
16 cities.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anyway, that's it. We're winding down.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. This has been incredible, and it is awesome what you guys are doing to get the word out and
Thank you.
just inform voters on the issues
Put it
that
on your
matter.
website and share it.
Yeah.
AndrewLearned.com. Let's go.
You'll send it
let's
to
go
him.
do it.
Angie's good about it. She's our PR lady as well as our Medicaid lady.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the
The
show.
live studio audience. Thank you.
Yeah. Put your hand out back
Next
there.
time, we got some fabulous guests coming up. Don't
Yeah.
miss it.
We're going to bring you all the folks you need to know about.